She was so good that every singer wanted to be like her because she was the best. She had everything.
I would say of all jazz singers, it's Ella Fitzgerald's voice that has come to be associated with what we term jazz singing today.
Music, how near, how far.
She really knows how to swing. She just takes a song, makes it her own, and you feel excited when you're listening to her. She makes you smile.
She sang like an angel. You know how you'd imagine true purity and true perfection and emotion? You don't often hear that. I think she's one in a million.
Somewhere there's music, I'll paint the tune. Somewhere there's heaven, I'll hide the moon.
Man, woman, or child, Bing Crosby once remarked, the greatest singer of them all is Ella Fitzgerald.
Till it comes true that you love me as I love you.
Ella was that rarity in jazz, a singer who could please pop and jazz fans alike.
Where there's music, how near, how far.
In a career that spanned 7 decades, her voice set the standard for jazz singing.
Until you will, I'll steal my heart.
Jazz singing is singing of songs and making them your own, putting your own interpretation into a song. Somewhere there's heaven, it's where you are. Somewhere there's music, how near, how far. The darkest night will shine if you would come to me soon. Until you will, have still my heart.
Jazz singing is taking liberties with a melody. It's taking notes, bending them in different ways. You can elongate a note or you can shorten a note. It's playing with rhythms. Somewhere there's music, how faint the tune. Somewhere there's heaven, how high the moon. There is no moon above and love is far away too. Until it comes true that you love me as I love you. Somewhere there's... What made Ella so popular was that she made it seem so easy and so simple that you just didn't feel like you needed to have some sort of special education about jazz music.
Ella did not like being called a jazz singer because she felt it limited her. Miles said the same thing. Of course, she was a great jazz singer, and she was a great pop singer, and I think one of the reasons she is such a great pop singer is that she never leaves her jazz chops. I mean, no matter what she sings, she cannot help but swing.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah. It don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is sing. Do-ah, 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 do-ah.
Ella's story is the classic rags to riches American dream. Born in Virginia in 1917, orphaned at 15, she was sleeping rough on the streets of New York when, as a dare, the shy teenager entered a talent contest at Harlem's Apollo Theater and won.
If it ain't got that swing, do-ah, do-ah. Don't mean a thing, all you gotta do is sing. Do-ah, do-ah. It makes a difference if it's sweet or hot.
Her original intention was to come out and do a dance number, and then when she saw that there was this really amazing dance team on the bill, at the last minute she switched and decided to do what you know, she said in her own words was an imitation of Connie Boswell singing Judy. And the interesting thing about that story is that there was a song called Judy from that time, so that makes sense, but Connie Boswell never made a record of it, and nobody's ever found any evidence that she did sing it, but I mean, it could have been something she sang on the radio.
Connie Boswell was Ella's favorite singer. Her ability to mix pop and jazz became the hallmark of Ella's own style.
Ella Ella's the queen of the quotes. She borrowed from Connie Boswell in particular, and Louis Armstrong.
Scream a while, scream a while, bobble do so with sugar.
She listened to the popular songs of the day on the radio, and she took those songs and has brought them into a jazz context, like Night and Day, for instance, which is was written as a slow song. Night and day, you are the one. And Ella's taken it and put it to a swing feel. 1, 2, 1. Night and day, you are the one. So there, it's been brought to life already by just adding a different feel to it.
Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun.
Ella was just 17 when she got her first break singing with the Chick Webb Orchestra, a black dance band in Harlem. It was 1935 and swing bands were taking America by storm. At first, Chick Webb was reluctant to hire Ella. Like other musicians, he thought girl singers were a nuisance.
Why is it so that this love...
Musicians and singers, it's been a love-hate story since the beginning, because the voice is the natural instrument. So the voice, if you've got a horn player, I mean, unless he's an exceptional horn player, if you put a horn player and a singer together who's got a decent voice, the singer's going to win, because people can immediately identify with the human voice, and there are words being spoken.
There's no easy way to say this, but the difference between, say, singers and musicians, no insult intended, is that I think very often musicians come in contact with singers who find that their role as a front person in the band much more important than having the music together. If a singer can sing great, then everything is forgiven. But often you find yourself in a situation where you're dealing with people of inferior ability, fronting music of people who are much better than them, and representing it quite badly, yet having an ego about it.
A tisket, a tasket, a brown and yellow basket.
But Chick Webb realized his singer was his biggest asset. In the 1930s, radio was the most important entertainment medium. Bands sought network exposure, and those with singers had more success. Ella sang the novelty tunes of the day. But it was her own song, A Tisket, a Tasket, that attracted a white following and made her a star.
And I think that what Chick Webb realized was that here was a way for his band, to break through, beyond just playing for the black audience, but to the big audience beyond, through Fitzgerald's singing. And she always had this capacity to sing, mainstream songs. That always was her forte. And just from the very beginning, particularly with A Tisket, a Tasket, which you can't describe it as a black song, you really can't describe it as a white song. It's just a piece of material.
I lost my yellow bag.
When Chick Webb died in 1939, Ella took over the band for 2 years before going solo. She decided to try something new. Scat singing. Scat was invented by Louis Armstrong, but it was a style Ella was to make her own.
Scatting is taking the human voice and trying to get it to imitate the sounds of musical instruments. That's what scatting is for me. Ella had a very large vocabulary in terms of the actual syllables that she would use. So her scats to me are a lot more colorful than, say, my own. For example, when I scat, just anything. A lot of l's, but they're very limited. Ella would go wee ah oh.
It sounds like people get up and they go, shabba-doo-ba-dee-ba-ba-ba-ba-dee-ba-doo-dee, right? And in a sense, that is what it is, except that there's a lot of homework that you have to do. You have to know what's going on underneath you, what the accompaniment doing, so that you can follow this with your ear. I treat scat singing like an instrumentalist would treat improvising. So I will take a scale, for instance, practice my scales like an instrumentalist would, or else I'll just get shoop shooby-doo, shoop shooboo, where I'd like to be able to go, which is to make a line, a sort of a musical line which will go through the whole solo, which is what Ella did.
Ella's scat singing was encouraged by the trumpeter Dizzy Gillespie, the frontman of bebop. Bebop was a radical new approach to rhythm and harmony that set the jazz world alight in the 1940s.
Fitzgerald is one of the only stars of the swing era, I mean, a real established popular star who was not hostile to bebop. And, and not only is she encouraging, but she's virtually the only one that switches over to it, I would say almost 100%. Things that bebop did, like the faster rhythm, the way it changed the use of harmony, the extended chord progressions, these were all challenges to her.
Ella's first recording in the bebop style was her version of an old Broadway tune, Lady Be Good.
She recast the song entirely. If you think of the way Lady Be Good originally went, it was like, sweet and lovely, lady be good. Oh, lady be good to me. Sweet. So, sweet, the first line of the tune, comes on one. In a bebop consciousness, you don't phrase too many things on one. You start the phrasing on beat 2 or beat 3 or beat 4. So when she picks it up, she goes 1, 2, sweet, it's on 3. Sweet and lovely, lady be good. Oh, lady be good to me. I mean, it sounds like a totally different song now.
Sweet and lovely, lady be good. Oh, lady be good to me.
She sings right to the end of that tune and then starts her scat. And this is where you can really see Ella taking it apart, where she starts to really improvise.
That's got to be one of the most famous scat solos ever. And I don't know how many choruses she did. Choruses, the whole song. She must have done like 8. I can't even get through like 5. After the 5th chorus, I'm just like, she had a really wonderful thing that she did, like with imitating the bass. I can't do it because for me the bass is boom 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 boom. I can do that, but I can't do this. Obviously, she had amazing ears. When she would go into like her upper register, like hitting like what a trumpet would do, she used ees and wee.
She does her thing. She quotes a lot of people. She quotes herself on Tisket a Tasket.
I lost my yellow basket.
She quotes Oobop Shabam. She's Oobop Shabam, Skoogabow, Fadoom Booba Dooba Dum Booba. The Dizzy quote. She does it with so much conviction and so much information and so much ease and naturalness that you don't worry about her stumbling over anything. You don't worry about her not making the changes. You don't worry about anything. You just enjoy it. And with her ability to finesse everything, it's just beautiful.
Ella had transformed herself from swing star to star scat singer, but she would soon reinvent herself once again. This time, everyone would recognize the name, Ella Fitzgerald.
Ella Fitzgerald. She's attempting to shatter a glass with her amplified voice. She did it.
By the late 70s, Ella was so famous, she was paid $500,000 to advertise blank cassettes.
Now you'll see a glass shatter again. But is it Ella or is it Memorex?
I'll never tell.
But the transformation had been masterminded 30 years earlier by her manager, Norman Granz.
Norman Granz gets a lot of credit, and deservingly so, for managing Fitzgerald in sort of the glory years of her career. He began working with her in the late 1940s, and by 1955 was able to take over in terms of her recording career as well. And he sort of became the guiding force. He filled a lot of different shoes in her career. He was sort of her manager, her producer, her concert promoter, and pretty much was responsible for most of her artistic decisions from that point on.
She would not be, I think, as famous as she is today had it not been for Norman Granz's involvement. He is the reason that Ella Fitzgerald is known all over and Sarah Vaughan is not. Sarah Vaughan did not have a manager like that had that kind of vision about what his artist was capable of doing. He, came up with that idea, the wonderful idea about doing the songbooks. I mean, it's just like, that was bingo, jackpot.
Night and day.
In 1956, Granz launched Verve, a new jazz label to promote Ella. Under his watchful eye, Ella cut the famous songbook series. These LPs were dedicated to the songs of the great Broadway composers, Rodgers and Hart, Duke Ellington, George Gershwin, and Cole Porter. The Cole Porter songbook became one of the best-selling jazz albums of all time, transforming Ella from jazz artist to first lady of the popular song.
The Cole Porter album was the first of the Fitzgerald songbook albums at Verve. And the story goes that when Granz had a rough copy of the album, he brought it to Porter. And Porter, like every other Broadway composer, was famous for not liking singers to take a lot of liberties with his work. And so it was not, a foregone conclusion that Porter would approve of what Fitzgerald was doing. But when he played it for him, Porter was just so impressed with her diction and with her presence and just, with her Ella Fitzgeraldness that, he signed off on the album and gave it his blessing.
Keeps it quite simple and straight, and what you hear is her lovely velvet tone, the little girl quality, the song speaking for itself. She's getting the words across. The lyrics are the most important thing, and you don't hear any little frills or any sort of affectations, which she could have easily done because she's got the musicality to do that.
She would certainly play less with the melody. She would sing it as a more straight ballad, but within that, she would bring her whole personality and the way she felt about the song. And she would still rephrase a number of things. And really, then you can just appreciate the quality of her voice. You can appreciate the love that she has for singing.
Who's prepared to pay the price for a trip to paradise?
She captures the mood of a song. She never sacrifices what the song's about. She has total integrity about how the lyrics go, the melody, and keeps your attention throughout all of that, weaving the two together. And truly, it's almost like a mini play when you watch her. It's a wonderful theatrical performance and experience.
But Ella's world celebrity couldn't protect her from widespread racism at home. In 1955, she was arrested on trumped-up charges of illegal gambling while touring the Deep South with Dizzy Gillespie. The arrest made headline news, and although the charges were dropped later, it was one of many racist incidents she endured throughout her career.
I think she realized very young, very fast, that the best way for her to make it in that business was by not making waves and just being sweet and just getting up on stage, doing her stuff and getting off and just, do you know what I mean? It's, you know, I think she just had a very good basic self-preservation instinct that for me was really part of how most black people had to do in those days.
Love for sale.
Shy but determined, Ella's survival instincts took her from poor black roots to become one of the giants of 20th century music. She lived to sing, and despite ill health, continued to entertain audiences into her 70s. She died in 1996 at the age of 79, but the woman who is adored by millions around the world remains an enigma.
Love for sale.
Fitzgerald was basically a very private person. She did not give a lot of interviews. She did not invite a lot of people into her home. She did not want you to think she had any kind of a life. She did not have any marriage that ever lasted long or any kind of a, you know, you don't, even though she did have an adopted son, you get the feeling that family was secondary for her. The most important thing was the career. And, you know, when she stopped performing, you know, those in the know or those who knew her really thought it was just a matter of time because, you know, that was the only thing that really mattered to her was, you know, I mean, her family was the whole world. Her family was everybody she ever sang for.
She brought jazz to a broader audience because she could present it with so much joy and because she could present it with so much authority and get that joy across to people. Then they'd be like, wow, yeah, that's cool.
Listen, I wouldn't be here today if it hadn't been for this woman doing what she did. She is the original definition of a jazz singer for me.
Somewhere there's music, I'll fake the tune. Somewhere there's heaven, I'll hide the moon.
There is no moon above when love is far away too, till it comes true.
That you love me as I love you. Somewhere there's music, it's where you are. Somewhere there's heaven, how near, how far.
The darkest night would shine if you would come to me soon. Until you will, how still my heart. Until you will, how still my heart. Until you will, how still my heart. How high the moon. Boom, dum, 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 doo, ah.